the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
9.5, Matt Green, or 8.5, excuse me, because I'm just going to go ahead and say,
yeah, I got 8.5 here.
Yeah, it's the lock of this season outside of one other one that I have is the lock. I have two guaranteed locks. Tennessee over 8.5 is a guaranteed lock.
Yeah, I was shocked by this number, to be honest. I think 9.5 is it's a way sexier play. Because I think most people are thinking over on the 8.5.
Yeah. So your reason as to why you think the Vols are going over, Matt Green, when you look at this schedule and what this team is going to look like this fall, why do you take the over for Tennessee?
I think Tennessee weirdly feels like one of the higher ceilings in the entire conference, or higher floors in the entire conference this year. And that's something I wouldn't have said a year or two ago about Josh Heupel, but this team feels like at absolute worst, like they're winning 8 games. I guess, obviously you can get in, Nico gets hurt, whatever, some doomsday scenario, but this team, there's a few toss-up games for sure. How many preseason top 20 teams on the schedule? 3 or 4. So, this is not an easy schedule, but obviously Tennessee fans have to be feeling good with what happened last time Alabama came to Knoxville. The Georgia game is the biggest one you're going to circle as a likely loss. But, you lose to Georgia, you still have what? Two you have to lose 3 more to not get to that 9-win mark. So I think they're safe to get. They feel like a 9-3, like a 9-3 is a disappointing type of season. But I could easily see 9-3, 10-2 for them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think they are a very high floor team, and that's part of the reason I think the lock is there. I think part of the reason they're a high floor team is the defensive line. I think this defensive line is the best in the country. I think the defense has gotten better every single year in scoring, from the mid-70s to the 30s in 2022 into the 20s in 2023. The defense, Pearce, what they're going to be able to rotate with Pearce, Josephs, Herring, and Ross, the Leo spot is just silly. They're absolutely loaded on the defensive line. It's going to wreak havoc on a lot of opposing defenses. I think Nico, even if he's not the best quarterback in the country, if he's not right out of the gate, if he goes through some growing pains and he's still I don't know, 3rd, 4th best quarterback in the conference, and he's getting his feet wet and he's still making some big plays, not turning the ball over. Because that's another big reason that Tennessee always has a high floor under Heupel.
Wait, so is 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the conference? Hold on, is 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the conference? Is that disappointing?
I think it depends on what it looks like by the end of the year. Because if Carson Beck, Jackson Dart are both dealing and he's finishes 3rd, I think that's probably. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this conference, Matt Green. There's a lot.
I'm just trying to gauge the temperature for how the Tennessee fans are feeling. You're even if he's only the 3rd or 4th best quarterback, I feel like
his first year starting.
I think to be the best quarterback in the conference.
I think the expectation from fans, fair or not, is at some point in the next 2 years while he's here, is he gets to the best quarterback in the conference, and I think that's more than possible here going into next year. But we'll see. It's still he looked great in the Iowa game, but let's see what it looks like. Part of it, the receivers, I think, are going to be a lot better than what we saw a year ago. Injuries kind of messed that up a little bit. The one caveat, I think, is the secondary. Like I said, Pearce was named ESPN's top player this week. I think one of the interesting things for them is Heupel's lost 1 home game in the last 2 years at Tennessee, and it was to Georgia last year. Half of his games he's lost at Tennessee in the conference have been against Alabama and Georgia. I look at the schedule, and I think a lot of fans are it's a nice schedule for Tennessee. But one of the issues I have with it is Tennessee does not play an important home game until mid-October. The Florida game is not until October 16th, I want to say. They play in Charlotte and a neutral site against NC State, who's a top 20 team. It's going to be a good game.
October 12th.
Yeah. And then they go to Oklahoma for Heupel's return, and then get a bye, and then go to Fayetteville.
Sneaky huge game on that.
That might be college game day for that one when you look at that slate. And then you get a week off But then you go right back on the road to Fayetteville, where I think they'll be like a 3-touchdown favorite. But again, you don't play an important home game and that's your biggest attribute for Tennessee, is it's so hard to win there, and this offense makes it unbearable for most schools. When you're not Georgia, coming into Tennessee with this Coliseum feel, with this kind of offense, this kind of pass rush with James Pearce, like I saw it up close in person. Like Spencer Rattler was rattled. Like it was something. Max Johnson was rattled by this defensive line and this just fan base. Like it was intense. It's an asset, but you don't get to that Florida Bama back to back until you get through those first 3 games. So I think Tennessee, it might shock some people, but I would say Tennessee is a lock for the CFP if they get through that slate undefeated, because then it gives you the pressure. It takes the pressure off for you to sweep Bama and Florida at home back-to-back weeks without a gap. Like you can drop one of them and still only have the Georgia game as the last toss-up on the schedule, and if you lose that, you're still 10-2 and you're making the playoff. So what I'm saying is, like, Tennessee's schedule.
You're saying they start 5-0, they're in the playoff?
Yes, 100%.
I don't know. I don't know about that. With I don't know, like at least the 2 best teams on their schedule. I don't think a 10-2 SEC team is just going to be a lock.
No absolute lock. Go ahead and pencil it in, Matt Green.
I mean,
you could pencil that in stone.
I don't know. But I don't know. You also had the Florida Gators, a team that, they're the ultimate wild card team, the ultimate chaos team in the SEC this year, because they play all the good teams. So they've got to beat somebody at some point, right? But I don't know. That's bold right there. 5-0. Those last 7 games are gonna mean something.
But a lot of them are at home, and Tennessee is so good at home, and especially under Heupel. If you can get out of Oklahoma clean, and part of the reason I like the Oklahoma matchup more and more, Oklahoma's got 5 new offensive linemen, 5 new starters. Going up against this pass rush, I think that's a recipe for disaster for Oklahoma. I don't think that's where you want to be, is a bunch of new starters in the offensive line against this Tennessee pass rush. Like, I don't think that's a enviable spot. But I want that to be a day game. If that's a night game, I'm going to be pissed, because if it's a night game, I'm reserving the right to change my opinion on Oklahoma. We need that to be the LSU spot. That needs to be 11 a.m. kick. Like, I don't know who we need to put the call in, but that needs to be an 11 a.m. kick. That is what I'm pushing.
I don't even know what the top slot is right now. Like, I guess the 3:30 number 1 slot is kind of over. It feels like some of the bigger games they've already named being like 8 o'clock games. But I'm hoping they still keep some of those prime. Texas Oklahoma is a 3:30, and they changed that because that was always high noon. But I like the bye week right after the Alabama game. Like last time Alabama came, like I feel like that city needed a week to recover from. I think there was like a cupcake last time in 2022, the week after Alabama. It's like that's what they needed. They put so much into that Alabama game. They need like an off week the week after.
It's a good question. Who was it after? Hold on, now you have me thinking. I'm like, who
it
did
was?
Tennessee
They played UT Martin.
UT Martin,
the week after,
and then Mizzou, right? Or is that Kentucky?
I think
after that?
Kentucky, Georgia, Mizzou.
Okay. All right, Matt Green. Next up, the Kentucky Wildcats, 6.5 for the Wildcats. This is interesting. I mean, they have gone 7-6. The last 2 years under Mark Stoops. He flirts with leaving. It looked like he was moving on to Texas A&M this offseason, and he is just back. Liam Cohen is gone again for the second time in like 3 years as OC. You bring in...
Let me add to your stat there. They haven't won less than 7 regular season games. They've done that one time in the last 8 years. Like, they're always winning at least 7 games.
Yeah.
So this 6.5 was interesting to me.
And I'm curious where you go on this one, because we agreed on the Vols, disagreed on Georgia.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.